Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is my true crime channel and this is Roxy True Crime. The case that we're going to discuss today is a case of a South African serial killer, Moses Sithole. He is also known as the ABC killer or the South African or Joburg strangler. On the 17th of September 1995, a police reservist was on his off day. He decided to go hunting for rabbits, and he discovered, while he was hunting for rabbits, he discovered a field that was filled with dead bodies, and these were the bodies of 10 female victims. He immediately called them over and they found 10 different bodies in various degrees of decomposition. Now, the police believe that this was the burial ground or dump site that was used by a serial killer that they were trying to track since 1994. First, they only discovered one body every 2 weeks from 1994, and then they discovered one body each week and then two bodies a week. And the way that these women were murdered made the police believe that they were hunting for a serial killer, because this serial killer or this person murdering these women were using like the same method of basically killing this woman. That's why he's also referred as the Johannesburg strangler, because he strangled these women with their own underwear, and these underwear could be bras, panties, or stockings that these women were wearing. He normally took their hands and tied it behind their back, and then he took the stockings or panties or any clothing item that he could find, or underwear that he could find on them, and he used this to strangle them and also tie their hands behind their back. Police first had no clue whatsoever who this person was, even though they had DNA evidence of this person. This was really back in the day and there wasn't really a DNA database. I am not from South Africa, so I really don't know whether they have a DNA database currently, but there was no database or a way that you could track DNA to a criminal, if I am not incorrect. Yes. So the police were investigating this case because it was really serious and they were really eager to find this person. One of the investigators went through his file while he was investigating the case, and he came across a missing persons case. This was the missing persons case of Trifina Mogotsi, and he decided to do some research on how she went missing and what exactly happened to her. So he went to her family and friends and the people that she was working with, and he spoke with her co-workers, and with one of the co-workers he discovered that the story that was used by the family of the previous victims were very similar to the story that was told to Traichina. Now, this serial killer was very smart. He used a certain tactic to target certain women. Now, as I've mentioned to you guys, that this was shortly after apartheid, and this was the time that all black people felt free. They felt free to move around South Africa, so they were moving into the cities, or black women were moving towards the cities to find work, because as we all know, where the cities are, there is basically more employment. So these women came from the smaller towns and they came to the bigger cities to find work. This Moses Sithole, the serial killer, he used this the fact that there were a bunch of unemployed women, unemployed women looking for jobs. He used this to his advantage. Traichina became a victim of Moses Sithole because he offered her a job, and this was a very good job. Now, because Traichina was the only person in her household that was working at the time. She was looking after a lot of family members. She was looking after her brothers and her mother, and I'm not sure whether she had a child at this point, but she was looking after a lot of family members. So when she got this job, she was very, very excited, and this unfortunately led to her death. Now, as the police was investigating, they spoke to one of Tragina's friends that also worked with her at this place, and they talked to her, and she told her just a few days before Tragina went missing, a man came to her and offered her an employment opportunity, and she said she was basically jealous because this was such a good opportunity for Tragina, and the person offered a lot of money and a lot of benefits. So she basically said that she was a bit jealous that Tragina got such a good opportunity. She also named the man that offered Tragina this job, and she named the name Moses Sithole. This case was very similar to a lot of these other victims that were told by the families. All these victims were basically lured by Moses Sithole on or offer of employment. So all these women went missing after they went to meet their or find out where they were supposed to work, and this was also what happened to Tragina. So the police basically put everything together. They decided that this makes sense. Regina had the same story as all the other victims, and they knew that they had the name of their serial killer that they have been hunting for approximately a year. Now, because Moses Sithole was a very, very popular name, they really didn't know where to look, but then decided to, because these women were all raped, they decided to look at a Moses Sithole that was convicted of rape, and they found a picture of one person. They then took this picture and went back to the friend Esther that told the story to the police about Tragina getting a job offer or a job opportunity, and Esther identified this man as the man that gave Tragina the job offer. So the police then and there knew that they had their serial killer, and they took the photo of Moses Sithole and published it on all newspapers in an attempt to catch Moses Sithole. But unfortunately, they were not really successful at the time. Now, before we go deeper into this case, I just want to give a brief background on who Moses Sithole was. Moses Sithole was the fourth child of Sophie and Simon Sithole, born on November 17, 1964 in South Africa Township, Valsaris. I'm not really sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly. According to Moses, he said that he was abused as a child. His mother was an alcoholic, and his mother and stepsisters basically all abused him. That was according to him. Then, when Moses was 6 years old, his father passed away. Now, because his father was the only breadwinner of the family, his mother could not really take care of them after his father passed away, and they were evicted from their home. Moses' mother then left them at a local police station, and they were taken to different youth homes. Moses says this is where the abuse just became worse, and he was treated really badly, and he described this place as a place of pain. So as a child, this is when Moses started building his hate towards women, because when he was captured, he explained that this was revenge that he was taking back, and that he considered all women as evil, and that's probably why he committed all his murders. Now, when Moses was younger, he decided he couldn't bear the abuse at these poorly run youth homes, and he decided to run back to his mother because he thought that his mother would welcome him with open arms. But that wasn't the case. When Moses arrived at his mother's house, she basically rejected him, and she was basically angry that he came back home, and she decided to send him back again. Moses was there at the youth homes for a few more years, and then decided when he was a teen, he decided to run away again, and he ran to his brother. He decided to start working and building his life. Now, as Moses was in his new environment, he was known as a very charming person. He was known as a person that, a lot of ladies liked him at the time because he was known as very smart and charming, and according to a lot of people, he was also handsome. So he didn't really have a problem meeting women. But one thing that Moses struggled with was his temper. Moses didn't like being rejected, and any slight rejection that came from the opposite sex, this would drive him into a state of rage, and this is when Moses started committing his crime. The first time that Moses Sithole raped anyone was in 1987, and this was a girlfriend's sister. Now, as I've mentioned, Moses was a person that was he got angry really fast, and although he was known as a charming person, he couldn't handle rejection really well. So he was walking in a field with one of his girlfriend's sisters. Her name was Patricia Kumale. And while he was walking near a dump site in Cleveland, Johannesburg, Moses decided to attack his girlfriend's sister. So as Patricia didn't say anything, because she was probably very scared for her life, Moses then committed another crime, and he raped another victim. Now this was his second victim, and her name is not known as far as I can tell. I don't know who this person was, but he raped his second victim. He then again told her if she spoke about it, that he would kill her, and out of fear, she remained quiet as the first victim. After his second victim, Moses raped his third victim, Lindiwe, which was also a sister of a girlfriend that he was dating at the time. And he threatened to pour gasoline over her if she didn't comply to what he wanted. So basically, he raped her and then threatened her if she would tell anyone that he would also kill her. So in 1989, Moses met Doris, and Doris was unfortunately, one of Moses' victims. He offered Doris employment and then led her to a field and raped her. He told her that I'm not going to kill you, but you need to keep quiet, and if I find you or if you tell anyone about this, that I'm going to murder you. So a few months after this case happened, Doris didn't also mention anything, but once she spotted Moses in one of the shops in town, she decided to call the police. She was probably tired and wanted to break her silence, so she called the police, and by doing this, they caught Moses. It's very unclear to me, and this is the part that really makes me very angry when I read about Moses Sithole. Now, as she called the police, they caught Moses Sithole, and they basically took the victim and the rapist and they put them behind the van. Now, I am like, how can you put a victim as well as a rapist in the same van behind? And while they were driving, he told Doris that he was supposed to kill her the first time that he had the chance. Now, I think the police officer overheard him, and the judge ruled that he should be punished for 7 years. He didn't spend his entire time in prison because he was again released in 1993, and that's probably because of good behavior. Now, Moses described this time in prison as very, very hard for him because he was rejected by other inmates. Because he was a rapist, he was rejected by other inmates, and he was also sodomized. So he also suffered abuse within prison. Now, during his time in prison, his hatred towards women grew even stronger because he maintained his innocence. I really understand how he maintained his innocence throughout his sentencing, and he said that he was wrongfully accused and that these women were liars. Now, I'm going to read one of the statements that he said while he was in prison. He said, "I regret not killing the first lady that falsely accused me." So this statement is kind of contradictory because he said that he regrets not killing. He admits that he wanted to kill her, but he didn't kill her. So his statements that he made were very contradictory. So during this time that he was in prison, Moses met Martha. Now Martha was one of the sisters of other inmates that were currently also serving time in the same prison that Moses was serving. So Martha met Moses and they fell in love. And in 1993, when Moses was released from prison, he moved in with Martha. Now, Martha's family was very opposed to Moses moving in with her because he had a really bad history, who was a convicted rapist, and the family didn't really understand why she wanted to be in a relationship or why she loved a convicted rapist. But eventually Moses moved in with her, and when he moved in with her, he started working with Martha's brother as a mechanic fixing cars. Moses went out looking for a job. He was dressed very professionally with a newspaper under his arm, and he looked really professional. And because Moses was very well spoken and smart, he decided to put a plan together to lure women. Now, because there were a lot of unemployed women looking for jobs, Moses then decided to use this to his advantage. He decided that he's going to offer fake employment opportunities to these women in order to lure them to a field to strangle and rape them. So his first victim was Maria. He met Maria and he introduced himself as Sylvester, and he met Maria and he also met Maria's family. Now, because Moses was really appointment to meet them for the first time, and then he made an appointment again to have drinks with this woman, he basically built a kind of trust so that the families of these victims could trust him. Now, what he did with Maria is he met Maria in town and he took a taxi with Maria nearby a near field. Now this was really common because they were, as you walk through this field, they were like short paths. It was kind of known as shortcuts through the field to where he wanted to go. So he then took Maria there, and he told her that if we walk across the field, we'll find the place that you need to work at. And as she walked through the field, Moses would normally do this with most of his victims. He would look around and see if he could see anyone, or that they were clear and nobody saw them, and then he would whip out his knife and drag these women deeper into the field. And once he got these women deeper into the field, he then strangled them and he first raped them and then strangled them with clothing items like underwear and stockings, and he left the victims there. Now, 4 months after his first victim, Moses already assaulted and killed 5 women. He got really comfortable with committing his crimes because he saw that he got away with most of his crimes. So as the time went by, his victims became, or his killings became more frequent. So Moses knew by this time that he needed to change his approach, how he would lure these women to rape them. So Moses later on decided that because his background as growing up in youth homes, he decided to use his background to open a fake organization. Fake organization was Youth Against Human Abuse, and the purpose of this organization was to unite families together, kids that were taken from their parents, or kids that basically lost their parents during the apartheid struggle. So basically this was the purpose of the organization, but this was just a phony organization and it was never used for the right purpose. So Moses claimed that he was looking for employees. Basically it was like the same scheme that he used, but now he had an organization to make this plan of him look more sophisticated and more real to these women. So he claimed that he was looking for employees, and a short while after he met a photographer. Now he told this photographer that he was looking for a home or an orphanage for 2 children. Now, I'm not really sure whether this was a true story or it was just one of the stories made up by Moses. So this photographer then took Moses to an organization or a youth home or an orphanage called Kids Haven. Outside this Kids Haven, he met Trigina. Now, Trigina was working nearby at a laundry or a place. I'm not really sure what place she was working at. Trigina was working at this place, and when Moses saw Trigina, he offered Trigina a job. Now, he made this offer so unbelievable that Trigina couldn't resist this offer. He told her that it would be a high-paying job and it would be a better job. Now, Trigina was the only person working at her family at this time. She saw this as an opportunity to better the lives of her family. Trigina was very excited and she made a date with Moses to meet him. And after she met Moses at the train station, she was never seen again. This brings you back to when Trigina's friend Esther gave the name of Moses Sithole that made it possible for the police to catch Moses. Now, before they caught Moses, even though Moses' name was out on the newspapers and on the television, and he was known around the country, the police was not successful in catching Moses. They went to his wife's house, Martha, but by that time he already left his house and they couldn't find Moses anywhere. While Moses' face was on every newspaper and while he was on television, one day Moses decided to call in to a certain station. I'm not really sure what the station's name was, but he spoke to a reporter, and by this time he was like kind of basically building a relationship, not a relationship, but he told this reporter everything that he has done and that he murdered these women out of anger and out of revenge, and because he believed that he was falsely convicted when he was sent to prison for rape, and then he felt like all the women were evil, and he basically told this reporter everything. But police didn't really believe at first that this was Moses, because this person claimed that he was Joseph. So they didn't really think that it was Moses at the time, and they basically wanted more evidence to bring or to confirm that this was Moses. So the reporter asked Moses to give more detail, because in the beginning he was just giving vivid descriptions of his crimes and what he did. Then he told the police where two bodies of two victims were. He first explained that the first body that he explained was, he said that there was a body in a field and it was under a large metal plate, and that he went there a while ago, and that he saw that this woman's body was basically just a skeleton left. So the police went to this place that Moses pinpointed out, and they found the remains of one of his victims. So they asked for more evidence, and then Moses pinpointed another location of another victim, and this was a very recent murder of a woman that just disappeared the day before. So the police was really anxious. They really wanted to catch Moses, because while he was still a suspect, he was still undermining the police, and he was still committing these murders, which shows that he wasn't really scared of anything by now. When they went to the second location, they found a fresh corpse of a woman hanging in a tree, if I'm not incorrect. And by then, the police knew that they had the right person, because this person was showing them the location of victims. The reporters still talked to Moses, and they were basically building some trust now. Her aim was to help the police lead them to Moses. Moses called from these telephones that you could find alongside the road. In Afrikaans, we call them telephone hokkies. So he basically called the police from this. When his money finished on this phone, or he told the reporter that his money was about to finish, she asked him for the number and asked to call him back. He then gave her the number. I really don't know what he was thinking at the time. He gave her the number, and she gave it to the police, and they used this number to track the train station that Moses was at. So while she was talking with Moses over the phone, the police went to this specific location, and while she was busy with Moses over the phone, she just heard silence, and she heard Moses running. And yeah, this was basically the time that the police tried to catch Moses, but they were not successful. He got away in time. News went around on Moses, and Moses was still not found by the police. Their first attempt to catch him was not successful. He got away. Moses then contacted his brother-in-law and asked him for a gun. So his brother-in-law agreed to give him this gun, and that he should meet him at his brother-in-law's workplace. By this time, the brother-in-law informed the police that he was going to meet with Moses, and then this was the day that Moses was captured. Now, everyone was really happy that Moses was captured, because the woman, the South African woman, finally felt safe, and they felt that they didn't have anything to worry about anymore. On the 5th of December 1997, Moses was finally sentenced for 2,410 years, and he would have to serve 930 years before he would be considered eligible for parole. The judge made sure that Moses would not commit any of his crimes again. The reason why Moses was not sentenced to death, because in 1994 the death sentence or the death penalty was abolished in South Africa, and that was one of the reasons why Moses was not sentenced to death. So South Africa was really happy that Moses was locked up. Unfortunately, when Moses was locked up, it was discovered that he had HIV and AIDS, and that his wife and his child, I haven't mentioned, he got a child. His child was also infected with HIV and AIDS, and unfortunately for them, they couldn't get the exact treatment that Moses got in prison, because when Moses was in prison, he could get the correct treatment for HIV and AIDS, but his family wasn't that lucky. So, guys, that is all for today. This was a really, really long story. I don't really like doing serial killer cases because I just feel they are so gruesome, and it's such a long story to tell. So I really don't like doing serial killer cases, but I wanted to include this case because it's a South African case, and I want to touch on different cases around the globe. I didn't just want to do cases from America. I didn't just want to do cases from Australia. I wanted to do cases across the world, and I decided to do one case from Africa, and this was the case of Moses Sithole from South Africa. So guys, that is all for today. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. And that's all for today. Bye.